Hello, welcome back to section 2. I have quite the mess made. But I have all the aspen cut down over here that I'm going to cut. And there's just one left right there. And later today or tomorrow I plan on cutting down these 3. Wait, now where are they? 4. There's one there, one there, one there, and one there. Those 3 down there, that's down by the ends pin, and further down I'm going to have section 2 all cleaned up first, because I want to hook on with the quad and drag them up over the hill before I cut them up. I got almost half of my firewood for the winter cut up. The reason why I'm showing you this now is because I'll be going through this pile. As you're cutting down trees, of course, you need to cut one down and then move the branches out of your way, or you're getting yourself into a tripping hazard and very dangerous when you're running a chainsaw. But I have these all packed parallel with all the butts sticking out this way. And so theoretically I should be able to just take a butt from the top and be able to pull them off very easily. And then the plan is to process every one and cutting as long a relatively straight piece out of it as I can. Now these really long ones I cut down really small, like this. Now this stick I can use as a barrier fencing I'm planning on doing around the ends pin, or I can use it for trellising several other things. It's quite a long stick. Now I'll take the other ones. Got a Y there, so I have to cut that. And do this all the way down to anything that's big enough to use at least as a marker. And then what I'll do is I'll separate them out into several length categories, and I'll stack them in this old shelter that I once said I was going to take down. But now that I've come across this idea, I think I'll stack all those sticks that I'm going to process through in there, and then they'll be out of the weather and be ready for when I need them. That is using the old tree and waste not, want not, eh? Everything be ready for when I need to build or make a marker or whatever. And when I get the branches processed, I'll end up with a lot of this on the ground, just the little twigs and the leaves and whatnot. I'll run them over with the lawnmower, and I'll have a mulch for the garden that's basically just leaves and mostly bark. So this year, section 2 will be cleaned up. Now the other thing for prepping, once I've got section 2 all up and ready to go, of course I want the trees to go in it. But if you're going to buy trees, that gets expensive. I have several, 6 right now I think, that I can take cuttings from. I'm going to try to root cuttings. So I'm going to take 6 cuttings from each one. So 6 times 6, that's 36 plants. And I found the pits that I sowed from the bunch of green gauges I was given. I think there was 11, and so I have 11 seeds put in to cold stratify now. I did it the same way I did those Meyerbrand cherry plums, so I should get pretty good results. But speaking of the rooting from cuttings, I did my research, and you get later June or July, depending on your growing season, of course, and these are getting fairly stiff. Take the new growth for your cuttings. This is the plum tree, and I'm going to have to cut off lower branches anyway. So today I'm going to take pieces off the ends of those lower branches. Same thing I'm going to do with the cherry tree. These, you might be thinking, they were planted on a rootstock, which is correct. There are several reasons to plant something on a rootstock. One of the main ones is because, well, it's easier. It's easy to grow a set of rootstock from seed, let the tree grow so big, cut it off, and graft your chosen variety onto the stump. The other thing which might affect me is that if these trees were grafted onto what they call a dwarfing rootstock, then they're not growing to their full size. I mean, that cherry tree has been there 15 years, it's not very big, and this plum tree is not very big. When I root a cutting and I plant that, I'm going to get whatever the original tree that this variety come from was like. So it might grow into a massive tree, I don't know. But I have room, and not really going to worry about it. I'm going to plant them about 12 to 16 feet apart once I get them growing well. Make sure I don't cut off any that's got fruit growing on it. Spit bugs are a little more abundant this year. And 6 cuttings. Always make sure you have things labeled, no guessing. So I'll put the plum tree label in the bag. Rather than carry it around, I'm going to drop them right there. So I have 5 more to go, and I'll see you in the sunroom where I'm going to put them in the rooting material. But before we go in the sunroom, I have something to show you. I was up here on the cliff taking some cuttings off this tree. And there are apples growing on here. I counted 14. Yeah, that's just 14, but this is the best eating apples. So 14 is better than none. I will get a taste of apples come fall. Welcome back to the sunroom. I've cleaned it all up. I got tired of fighting with the aphids. These are my eggplants and a couple of pepper plants that are growing, but for some reason not properly, reminding me of the amino pyralids thing that they're talking about. See how the leaves are all crinkled for no apparent reason. This eggplant is flowering, trying to get one fertilized now. And I've made another clone of the better bush before putting them out. So this tomato plant has no aphids on it. And as I said, the plants here, I took them out and I sprayed them all off. When I come back from my trip, I'm going to start over, finish filling this up, and get plants growing in here again. Now I have my cuttings here. I have this Wilson. It says Wilson Liquid Root Stimulator with a fungicide. And that's the box. It's an easy to use liquid gel. I'll put some of this out in this bowl. You can see it's a green gel. I went to a gravel pit just close to me here, and I've got some sand. So it's what they would call, if you were ordering sand from one of those suppliers, they call it dirty sand. I have the containers that I had my mulberry trees in. I'm thinking six cuttings should do. Let's pick up this bucket, do it a little faster. Doesn't necessarily have to be right to the top anyway. I'll pour some water in this now to make sure the sand is really wet. There's drain holes in the bottom, so it'll drain down through. Now my first one here is the Ida Red Apple. Put them in this gallon bucket. Now I have to strip off all of these lower leaves. Just leaving a couple leaves up top, like that. And as I was stripping it, actually, I pulled some of the bark off there. I'm going to take about a ½ inch. I'm going to strip the bark off entirely. And then up 2 or 3 inches, I'm just scratching the bark. If I had that in a flatter container, it would be easier. But I have a little brush here for putting on the rooting hormone. Like that. And just take it and push it right down into the sand until it touches the bottom. And I'll repeat that with the next 5 that I have here now. Every per leaf that is going to be times well. That's the Ida Red. It's a little bigger bucket, so I'm going to use this rice bag over it for a humidity dome. Now these are smaller, so the cuttings will be tighter together, but I don't think that will hurt. What I have here, the Romeo cherry bush. It's a new bush, but I cut off just the couple of limbs that was down almost at ground level. This should root really well. I only add the few, maybe I should take off a couple more of these leaves. I couldn't get 6 cuttings, but this little one now, this is purely this year's growth. I took it off of that branch there, so I'm going to try to get this part to grow. I'm just going to leave on 2 leaves. Yeah, I had 1, 2, 3 cuttings is what I got, but I can take these pieces off the sides and put them as cuttings. So all told, I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces of Romeo cherry here. And the bag that I collected the slips in, it fits over these coffee containers. So I can use these as a humidity dome. Now these were a bit larger. This is the plum tree. I'm going to cut them down to a smaller size. All completed. I believe it was 6 for this one. The Ida Red. I have 8 pieces in for Romeo Cherry. This is the plum tree, and I believe it was 11 pieces for the plum tree. The cherry tree, I just have 6. This is what I'm calling the cliff apple, so that's the one with the really good eating apples up there on top of the cliff. And this I'm calling the henhouse apple because they're both apples from seed, so they're not really a name variety. I have 7 pieces for that one. Now this one, if I get them rooted, 2 of them goes to my neighbor, and there's another guy in the community wants 2. So that leaves me with 4, but technically I don't need to be building a big food forest anyway. It's just me. The goal of my channel is to show people how a food forest can be built here in Newfoundland, and so if I spread fruit trees around the cove, well, all the better. My understanding is that it will take about 4 weeks to notice whether or not these cuttings are going to take root and grow. So I guess in about 4 or 5 weeks we'll get an update on this. While we're waiting, it'll be on to other things. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.